when we think of running and building infrastructure most effectively, either by being more cost effective or delivering a better quality of service to the citizens, it is often of benefit to the city to think about options to bring in private sector players. The concept of the public-private partnership is an important lever at disposal to cities. It's not without its challenges, of course, because some cities are less inclined to bring in the private sector, perhaps because there are certain union rules and a feeling that the city is well versed to run its assets. I was recently talking to the former mayor of Frankfurt, who mentioned that the city was the best operator of their power plant assets. This was a surprise to me, because there is a well-developed private sector that can play a very pivotal role in ensuring that that these assets deliver cost-competitive power. And the concern, of course, would be that the power price would increase, such that it would make the city less competitive on this dimension. So I think cities looking for what are the things that we as a city absolutely need to run. And some cities are being quite aggressive in the things that they actually say are central. For example, core services, police, fire, some of the issues around administration, core are there, but there are many examples of privatisation are happening. Parking is, and parking buildings and assets is one area where it has been somewhat easier in some cities to privatise and get private participants to play a role. Road concessions, toll roads, all of that sort of thing leads to lower operating cost and is proven to make sure that the city is less exposed. Even things like public transport, which is seen as often as a core service to the citizens, is being outsourced to private players who are able to do it cost effectively and ensure that the service delivery is adequate. It's not without its challenges for the city. So a city does need to be aware at the time that the private participants come in that there are certain service levels that need to be retained. It is important for a set of workers who need to get to a plant for the morning shift at 4 a.m. To be able to have access to public transport. That will be important for the companies that have decided to do this. However, if it were pure economics from the point of view of the bus operator, they would not put in that service. So making sure that the city is clear on what are the service levels that we would absolutely need to guarantee to our citizens, and making sure that that is protected is a key aspect. And there have been examples where this has not happened, and it has led to major political issues for the city, because the workers still need to get to work. Water, private water, privatisation of water is something that has happened quite extensively in the developed countries, and there is also a push to privatisation in developing countries like Brazil. However, the challenge here is making sure that the private sector can come in at a return. So while it is true that it is possible now for private players to come into the municipal water provision and wastewater in Brazil, the number of deals that have actually happened have been relatively few. and this is because the current state of the assets, coupled with the economics of capital required and the return based on a tariff system that is largely fixed, means that many of the deals are not in and of themselves profitable. And cities need to think carefully about that, because that inefficiency in the system that is borne out by lack of private participation is exactly the same drivers, which makes it inefficient for the city and not necessarily a good use of the relatively limited resources that some cities have. So this issue is not without its challenges, but cities need to be bold in some of these opportunities for private involvement, as long as it's protecting the core services that the citizens will need. Otherwise, again, you'll impact the competitiveness, which is exactly the driver that you want to protect.